As many of you know, Romania is a country in southeastern Europe. It is in a very precarious location, it is the crossroads between east and west. Romania has been dominated by the larger powers that surround it, primarily Hungary, Russia, and Turkey to the south. The Romanians are a Latin-speaking people, surrounded by non-Latin-speaking peoples. So it is technically an island, a Latin island in the Sea of Slavs and Magyars. The Romanians, unlike their neighbours, are indigenous to their lands. This helps to understand how the Romanians are in the precarious situation they are in now. The idea of a Romanian state goes back centuries. Now, obviously, had the brief union period of Michael the Great in the year 1600. But also, you had the Dacian kings like Berbiska and Gexibal, who united the Dacians and the Getae into one massive single compound, which makes up roughly the map of Romanian state. For centuries, Romanian state was actually was made up of two states, Wallachia and Moldavia. Wallachia and Moldavia were formed at roughly the same time in the 13th century. But then you had the expansion of the Ottoman Turks who came in. Hungarians took Transylvania in the 9th century. Transylvania was, and always has been, majority Romanian. And obviously the Romanian states or peoples were forbidden from uniting because the great powers feared a unified Romania. So think of the Wallachia and Moldavia from unifying. Fast forward to the 19th century, you got national awakening, and you got the Romanians who want to actually form their own state, like many other peoples in Eastern Europe who were occupied. But the Wallachia and Moldavia, for much of their history, were semi-independent regions of the Ottoman Empire, one of the few states within the Ottoman Empire that can maintain its own laws, etc., and just pay taxes to the Ottoman Sultan. Obviously the Ottoman Turks control the defence and foreign policy, but if you look at the devolved parliaments of Catalonia and Scotland, that was what Wallachia and Moldavia were like. Wallachia and Moldavia unified in 1859 under Alexander John Kruzer. Kuzer's rule was supposed to last only for his lifetime. But basically, so the Romanian state was already fragile enough. And Kuzar became corrupt, and he was forced out by the rich landowners, who invited a German prince who was related to the Prussians, Karl of Hohenzollern-Sigmaringen, and he adopted the name Karl in Romanian. Karl came to Romania via in secret disguise, and because Austria was at war with Prussia, and he arrived in Romania to a fanfare welcome in May 1866. This is the start of the Hohenzollern-Sigmaringen dynasty, which rules to this day, be it over another name. Karl led Romania through a very strong, stable era for many decades, led the Romanian War of Independence in 1878. In fact, the country was independent in 1859, de facto, and had its own currency way before 1878. During 1860, the Romanian lei was introduced. After the official independence of 1877, Romania developed economically, and due to Karel's Prussian ties and friendship with Otto von Bismarck, Romania fought ahead economically. Black gold, as in oil, was discovered in 1856, and Romania soon became one of Europe's biggest oil producers and grain producers. Romania soon became the most advanced and richest of the Balkan states. Now, Romania could not ignore what was going on around them internationally, since there was alliances being forged, and also there were enemies being forged around Romania as well. The Romanians' cultural aspirations was obviously to have Romanians under one roof. So, Transylvania was obviously more important than Bessarabia, but the Romanians wanted them both. In 1912, because the Balkan Wars broke out, Romania remained neutral, and said to Bulgaria, if we remain neutral, you will give us Silvestria at the end of the war. The Bulgarians failed to siege this single fortress town to Romania, and that's why the Romanians were outraged at Bulgaria and said, if there's another Balkan War, we will not remain neutral. So the Romanians decided in the Second Balkan War to intervene, and it was Romanian intervention that brought the end of the Second Balkan War in August 1913. The Treaty of Bucharest was very advantageous to Romania, and Romania seized southern Georgia. By 1914, if you look at Romania was economically well ahead of Greece, Bulgaria, and other of the Balkan neighbours. But the governments had failed to actually use much of this wealth to actually advance the nation militarily. Military spending was very stingy, and also, although it was the richest Balkan states, Romania could afford to buy and produce tons of machinery, etc., weapons, ships supporting the naval flotilla to prevent any enemy from crossing the Danube. The Romanian government refused to spend, while other European powers were spending big on military and armaments. The Romanians spent hardly anything. The historians could say, well, we got the Straits, etc., but the Romanians could easily import skill through the Straits. Skill is a raw material, and the Turks would allow this, because skill, obviously, ships would be unarmed, etc., just carrying raw materials to Romania, and Romanians could produce them at Galati, an armaments factory in Galati. In 1916, the Romanian army compassed of 1,300 pieces of artillery. Mainly it was obsolete, and also the navy was very small, and obviously was very suitable to prevent an invading army from crossing the Danube from the south, namely from Bulgaria. Obviously, the Second Balkan War inflated the army's reputation, and it was a very easy victory because the Bulgarians were often elsewhere in Serbia and Greece and did not have the men to spare to defend their northern frontier. So the Romanians were overconfident of themselves. Romania remained neutral in the first 2 years of the First World War. Romanian oil and grain continued to be traded with both Centrals and Allied powers. As in most cases, as in modern times now, oil is an important commodity, and the Allies and Central powers knew this, and Romania had oil. And why do you think they were so interested in Romania joining the First World War? On their side, obviously. It was because of oil and grain. They had not obviously they knew Romania's strategic position was untenable. The Central Powers promised Romania Bessarabia, and the Austrians promised Romania equal status within the empire, but the Allies were the only ones who could actually promise what Romania really wanted: Transylvania. In historical terms, Transylvania is probably more important than Eastern Moldavia, Bessarabia. There are 3 million Romanians living in Bessarabia and Transylvania, and 1 million Romanians living in Bessarabia. They get your pick, and the Romanians wanted them all. And the Russians were very slow to react to Romanian demands for Bessarabia, since they didn't want to let go of that province. Unknowingly to the Romanian politicians, Carol had secretly entered an alliance with the Triple Alliance, Germany, Austria, and Italy. And when they heard this news in the Crown Council in August 1914, many were shocked and dismayed and were disgusted at Carol. And Carol felt weak and got weaker and eventually got really old, etc., and was actually urinating in the bed and basically was about to abdicate when he suddenly died during 1914. The new King Ferdinand was shy, retiring, and he had the reputation of being henpecked by his British wife, Queen Marie, who was a granddaughter of Queen Victoria. Queen Marie was born in 1875 in Eastwell Park, Kent, and obviously she would be pro-British. Her father was Alfred, Duke of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, the late Alfred, Duke of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, and her mother was Russian. And so you can see a very strong Allied pro-sentiment there from her parents. King Ferdinand was born in Her Henson, American, and was a Catholic German. His children were required to take the Orthodox faith. But what side would Ferdinand pick? Ferdinand was already under the sway of his pro-Allied liberal Prime Minister, Leon Brezhnev. Brezhnev was a skilled foreign diplomacy maker, and he knew that this war was essential to the history of the Romanian people. He knew that this war could change Romania dramatically. The map of Romania could be large, double in size. All Romanians for the first time since 1600 living under one roof. Obviously, the rule of Michael the Great was only 3 years, but he knew that this war could produce a Romania that could last forever in a unified Romania. But he wanted assurances that the Allies would help Romania because he knew that the Central Powers would want Romanian oil. He was not stupid, and basically he wanted the Allies to promise intervention aid from Russia, Great Britain, and France to attack the Bulgarians at Greece to keep the Bulgarians away from the Danube. So as with his assurances, the months dragged by. The years 1914 to 1916 was very profitable for neutral Romania. Trade continued with both sides, so obviously being a neutral nation, your trade obviously increases in war. And obviously the price of oil goes up in wartime because of the shortage and the heavy importation of oil by the combatants, and the grain as well. Food prices go up, all prices go up in wartime, and the Romanians were doing very well, thank you. Now was the time for a decision for Romania. Obviously the Allies could offer Romania much more than the Central Powers could ever offer Romania. And unlike Bulgaria, the Central Powers offered Bulgaria much more. But had Bulgaria been offered the whole of European Turkey and Constantinople, I think Bulgaria would obviously join the Allies. But the Greek of Macedonia, the Romania's Greek of Transylvania, sway the decision of the Bulgarian Tsar and the Bulgarian people. With this in mind, Romania's closeness with the Allies, or negotiations with the Allies, had not gone unnoticed by the Germans, who obviously had plans to knock Romania out of the war quickly and get its oil for its war machine. Oil was important for the lorries, etc., and the transportations. And obviously Romania had tons of grain which could feed the hungry German population that was beginning to starve in 1916. As early in 1916, the German blockade was starting to eat quite hard at the German people. The British blockade on the Germans was actually beginning to eat hard on the Austrians and the Germans. As we can see, the Germans made sure they got the vast booty of the grain to prevent the Austrians from having it, and the Bulgarians as well. The Romanian plan, called Hypothesis Z, was to attack through Transylvania. This was a mistake, and British advisors actually advised the Romanian High Command, the MNG, to attack through Bulgaria, so they could join up with the Allied forces in Greece. But Romanians, in fact, hard to trust the Allies. Would they honour their commitment of giving the whole of Transylvania, or just part, to Romania? The Romanians didn't know how much the Allies would back their promises. The French could say to the Romanians they could have all the land from the Tisa to the Black Sea. But the Romanians were wary of the Allies and didn't know the Allies could go back on their promises, and the Romanians did not trust the Allies. So the Romanians, idiotically, the Romanians' High Command did not learn from the Russians, because the Russians went headfirst into their stronger neighbour Germany and were crushed at Tannenberg and the Russian lakes. Romania should have attacked Bulgaria, their weaker neighbour, first, and should have held strong positions in the mountains and the Carpathians. Obviously, coming up from the Danube was obviously easier than going across the mountain passes, which would take rather a long time for the Central Powers. So Romanians decided on Hypothesis Z to advance into Transylvania. Romania mobilised 860,000 men. The First Army, they had four armies, 200,000 men each, and the reserve at Bucharest, which made 860,000 men. The Romanians asked the Russians for assistance, and the Russians promised the Romanians a token of 200,000 men. But in the end, the Russians only supplied 50,000 men. Had the Russians actually supplied 200,000 men, the Central Powers advance up the Georgia would obviously have been slower. But the Russians in the end supplied only 50,000 men, hardly adequate. Three armies faced the Austrian frontier, while one army, which was overstretched, commanded by General Aslan, which had the precarious job of defending the whole entire Bulgarian-Romanian border. So you got three Romanian armies facing the northwest border against Austria-Hungary, but you got one whole army of just 200,000 men having to cover a distance probably more than 300 miles, or 500 miles of frontier. Can you imagine that? How difficult that would be? In terms of equipment, like I said, the Romanians were short in everything. They were short on gas masks, trench guns, machine guns, barbed wire, etc. The Romanians had never experienced the trench warfare that the Allied armies and Central Powers had been fighting over in the Western Front. Romanians were very unexperienced in trench warfare, Romania's tactics were, the army's tactics were more suited to the 1878 campaign with the independence. The guns and equipment, the rifles date to the 1890s. Romania had hardly any modern equipment, and a small air force, and a small navy, which is very insignificant, and would obviously not be practical use to actually prevent the Germans from crossing the Danube. How Romania had a huge river fleet. After the First World War, Romania's river fleet was the largest in the world. Romania had the largest river fleet in the world in 1916. It would play a major role in preventing Mackensen from actually crossing the Danube, and would stall the progress of the Central Powers at Dobruja, because they would be bombarding both sides, the Black Sea and the Dobruja. But as it were, the Romanian navy was very small indeed. A couple of dozen of Monikers, a couple of dozen gunboats, and had one cruiser, the protected cruiser, the Elizabetha, and had a Machia, which was just a training ship, really. So, August 27th, 1916, Romania declared with its obsolete artillery of 1,300 and over-expansion. I think one German military attaché said that the over-expansion of the Romanian army killed it. And basically, with its massive mobilisation of 860,000 men, guns were lacking, ammunition was lacking, etc. And obviously the army went into it overstretched and undersupplied, which obviously was going to be a disaster against superior German and against Central Powers forces. The Central Powers were commanded by the able General August von Mackensen, who crushed Serbia and crushed the Russians at Gorlice Kameno and crushed Serbia. The Romanians had the unfortunate business of actually not facing just General August von Mackensen, but also General Erich von Falkenhayn. Romania's entry into the war influenced the sacking of General von Falkenhayn, Erich von Falkenhayn. Falkenhayn failed to actually destroy France, but under his command, he was in charge of the German Imperial German Army, and he literally ended up bleeding his own troops white in the Battle of Verdun. But Falkenhayn was still a very experienced and capable commander. The Romanian command, however, in contrast, was lacking in good officers, in experienced generals. Most of the generals were of high class, obviously, like most Europeans were, generals were. But most of the generals were inexperienced of modern warfare. They had no idea of how to fight trench warfare or modern warfare tactics. And there were a few, like General Dragolina and General Averescu, who were actually competent and were good leaders. But the Romanian high command was corrupt, it was oversized, and it was literally obsolete in terms of how a modern high command should be. August 27, 1916, Romania declared war on Austria-Hungary. The Romanian advancing to Transylvania was easy. The front between Romania and Austria-Hungary was lightly guarded by the Austrians. Since the Austrian-Hungarian army could not supply enough men, the Austrian-Hungarian army had problems of its own. Because obviously you got the Romanians in Transylvania, they were hostile, but the Austrian-Hungarian army was made up of many different nationalities who obviously wanted to actually create their own nation once the war was over and felt no loyalty. Loyalty to the emperor was already on the rocks way before the First World War anyway. And Italians had to be Italian troops who were fighting the Austro-Hungarian army had to be transferred to the Eastern Front. The Romanians, obviously many of them at this time, were fighting the Russians on the Eastern Front. But there were many Romanians who actually joined the official Romanian army as a Romanian volunteer corps. Like the main bulk of the Austro-Hungarian army was engaged with the Russians and was also engaged with the Germans, with the Italians as well. That was good. So, there was hardly any men the Austro-Hungarians could muster. The Romanians captured Brasov, an important cultural centre of Transylvania, and the Romanians advanced headlong into Transylvania. The Kaiser declared, "The war is lost." The Romanians raided Ruse, in the middle of September, which was where the Austro-Hungarian army, or the Austro-Hungarian navy rather, was based in Ruse, in Bulgaria. A Romanian naval surprise attack literally dealt a blow to the Austro-Hungarian navy, Danube flotilla, and the flotilla had to draw westwards as a result of the Romanian attack. It was a successful bright light at the start. The Romanian navy was doing its job, the Romanian army was advancing to Transylvania. All seemed to be going well for the Romanians. Then, 3rd September, Bulgaria declared war with Romania. Over the coming days, Germany declared war with Romania and the Ottoman Empire declared war with Romania. Now that Bulgaria was at war with Romania, General von Mackensen decided to actually put his Danube army into action. His Danube army was a multinational army of Germans, Turks and Bulgarians. General Mackensen thought the Turks and Bulgarians unreliable and said if a Bulgarian soldier saw a cow, he would think it's a piece of treasure and nick it. On the 5th of September, Mackensen started headlong advance into Dobruja. Romanian forces in Transylvania had to divert troops to Bulgaria. The Romanian rail network was congested, and all railway lines were pointing to Bucharest, linked to Bucharest, which created jams and headlong advances. The Romanians, obviously, and the Russians arrived just in time, but not enough. Just 50,000 Russians came into view, and General Zakharov, who had a pronouncement for retreat. He preferred retreat, and was known to his Russian colleagues as being a coward. And he was only interested in actually getting to the Russian frontier as fast as possible. 50,000 Serbs were also at action in the southern Dobruja, protecting Romania as well. On 21st September was the official date of the Central Powers counter-attack, and it was ferocious. The Central Powers were much more equipped, was much more better organised, and were also much more heavily numbered in troops and morale as well. The Bulgarians have reason for fighting still. They want to recover the whole of Dobruja for Bulgaria themselves. The German High Command was Hindenburg and Ludendorff. They held all campaigns in east and west to deal with Romania. General Volkenhayn from the north and General August von Mackensen from the south had the task of crushing Romania. And it was important because Romania had oil and grain which could feed and equip the German army. At the beginning, the Danube army made slow progress in Dobruja. The Romanian forces, as I said before, in the south were overstretched and could not protect every single bit of the Danube. Like I said before, it had a very strong navy in the Danube. Then obviously that would prevent Mackensen from crossing the Danube. Mackensen crossed into the Dobruja, and the fortress of Turkisia was taken by the Bulgarians. The Bulgarians suffered huge casualties, but it was taken on the 6th of September. It was a black day for the Romanian army. The Romanian High Command realised their mistake, and they thought they should have originally gone with the British military advisor's advice of attacking Bulgaria first. Avescu decided to actually counter-attack in Bulgaria, the Flamiga offensive, but the storms destroyed the bridges, and the attack was repulsed. This is a temporary setback for Mackensen, who bluffed it and basically got warriors and continued to advance northwards towards Constanza, which was an important naval base and had vast quantities of stocks of oil and grain, captured on the 31st of October. In the passes, meanwhile, the Romanians held firm for now. The Romanians were suppressing German, desperately trying to halt the Germans from crossing into Romanian proper. By mid-November, obviously everyone knew that the Germans broke through the passes. Then obviously the plains of Wallachia would be very vulnerable indeed. And the Germans broke through in mid-November. They swept into West Wallachia, and they went through towards the River Olt, and obviously the First Army was completely annihilated. On the 17th of November, Mackensen crossed into Wallachia and towards Bucharest. The king and government had already escaped to Iași. Bucharest was in the sights of the Central Powers. The Mackensen crossed from the town of Spišsko. There was no resistance whatsoever to the pontoon being laid, or the German troops crossing the pontoon. Absolutely no resistance whatsoever. In Constanza, the Bulgarians stole the statue of Ovid, which Mackensen angrily put back on his pedestal. General August von Mackensen said that a good commander should not be allowing his troops to ransack a city. It is uncivilized. Like the Bulgarians were very uncivilized and were looting everything they could. After the capture of Dobruja and liberation of Dobruja in Bulgarian eyes, the war in Romania was over for them, and they didn't see any point of continuing the war in Romania whatsoever. And the war in Romania particularly became unpopular, because with Bulgarian strategy and aims, it was just Dobruja that they were worried about. They weren't worried about Wallachia or Moldavia whatsoever. In January 1917, the Romanians were driven to Moldavia. This was their last stand. It was only bad weather and horrendous road conditions, with transportation conditions which halted the Germans. The front was quiet for many months. The French sent the military assistance, and the British military assistance followed too. The main army was reorganised. It was badly shattered, lost hundreds of thousands of men, and lost huge amounts of military booty, like very valuable guns. The Romanians lost guns. They were very, very hard to replace, or never replaced whatsoever. As it was, the Romanian army reorganised. under French assistance, led by General Henry Marcus Berthelot. Keeping remaining in the war was a major aim for the French, who wanted to divert as many German troops from the Western Front as physically possible. He knew Russia was about to fall, but he wanted Romania to continue the fight against the Germans, mainly to kill as many Germans as possible and to actually keep the Germans in the as many Germans in the east as possible. In the August battles, Romanians fought heroically. The ghost of Stefan Chalmers, or the spirit of Stefan Chalmers, has given the great Moldavian prince Wisdom. Stephen the Great won 45 out of 47 victories against the Ottoman Turks in the 15th century, and I believe he was with the Romanians in August 1917. The Romanians won all 3 battles: Baku Marisesh, the 2 battles of Oguz. The Romanians fought like lions, Mackensen later put in his memoirs. The Romanians fought like lions, and they literally deserve credit for their heroic fighting. The Telegraph called Romanian front the only bright light in the east, because Russia was about to fall. Russia had a revolution in February 1917. Kerensky wanted to continue the war, and he designed the Kerensky offensive, which was a complete failure. There are many Russian troops in Moldavia who had revolutionary fever and wanted to pull out of the war. They didn't see any point in the war, and Lenin was promising peace, land and bread. And after Russians have suffered millions upon millions of casualties, and obviously if you're a Russian, all you want to do is get a home, and because you're under-equipped, you've got hardly rifles, etc., you're underfed as well, and you get to the point of continuing the war. So I can understand the sentiment of the ordinary Russian soldier. And it was only a matter of time before Russia did actually collapse, which it did. In October 1917, after all that heroic fighting, the Romanians were on their own. And the Romanians were forced into an armistice, a piece of Bavaria. And the Treaty of Bucharest in March 1918 was signed. The main army was ordered to demobilize, and Wallachia was placed under German protection. And also Dobruja, angrily for the Bulgarians, Dobruja was split upon the main powers. And the Bulgarians were very angry, and the Bulgarians became more suspicious of Germany and Austria's aims. The Germans controlled in Romania, in occupied Romania, the Germans controlled the railways, the transportation, and the food. The Germans made sure they got the majority of the miscellaneous booty of food and raw materials and oil, which would continue powering the German war machine. Arthur Griffiths, sent by the British, destroyed some of the oil fields, but not all of the installations. But I think Romania was in a precarious situation. I think had Romania attacked Bulgaria in 1915, so aided its friend and neighbour, Serbia, in October 1915, and swung south, and had the Romanian military budget been 40% of its budget, of its GDP, in 1916, then things would be more different. The Central Powers' advance would be more slower. So I would enter Romania into the First World War in October 1915, a day after Bulgaria declares war on Serbia. Romania's military budget would be 40% of its overall GDP, which would obviously be massive. And the Romanian river fleet the strongest in the world, and also make sure Romania has plenty of mountain artillery and supports to actually block any enemy trying to get through the passes, the mountains. So make the mountain Transylvanian Alps and Carpathians like a mountain fortress. I'll also invest heavily in the Black Sea Fleet. 6 destroyers, 1 submarine, 5 battleships, 6 cruisers. That will make for formidable Black Sea Fleet. invest heavily in Romanian Ganian fleet. The Ganian fleet would consist of 5 destroyers, 3 cruisers, 500 gunboats, and 300 river managers. Can you imagine it? And how would you pay for this, you would ask? Well, the Romanian economy was doing very well indeed. The government were being very stingy on their military budgets, and I think Romanian army could have been one of the best in Europe, had the military budgets being like 40% of GDP, and you would argue that Romania didn't have much more materials, except for the oil, of course. But Romanians could import huge amounts of skill from around the world, from Russia, etc. And the armaments factory in Galax could produce thousands and thousands upon rifles, machine guns, etc. Trench mortars between 1914 and 1916, gas as well. But it was not to be. But in the end, on the 10th of November, at the very last minute, Romania re-entered the war. And it was only good birth for lots of citizens that Romania re-entered the war. Otherwise, it would lose out on the negotiations, and all that fighting they did would be a waste of time, because the Allies were not honouring their commitment. The Romanians managed, in the peace conference, it was stalling, and the Romanians advanced into Transylvania, hugely advanced into Transylvania, and costly did that, and got a blow with the Hungarian Communist Party, Hungary was taken by Bela Kun, a communist. Romanians occupied Hungary after Hungarians attacked the Romanians. Romanians occupied Budapest. There was a smashing victory for Romania, the Hungarian-Romanian War. And the Hungarians were forced to sign the Treaty of Trianon, which officially Transylvania, the whole lot, and Crișana and Banat were part of Romania. The Hungarians are still seething to escape for some bizarre reason, but the Romanians have come very well out of it. The Romanians also gained Bessarabia and northern Bukovina, which was stolen by the Russians backed by the Russians in 1940. But overall, if you're Romanian, I think that Transylvania is far more important than Bessarabia in terms of the 1947 loss. But overall, this war did change everything for Romania. The first time ever, all Romanians were virtually living under one roof. It was a very victorious war for Romania, but it cost hundreds of thousands of lives, over 500,000 military and civilian deaths in total, in just 3 years, just under 2 years of war. The Romanians lost all those men. At the peace negotiations, Queen Marie was sent, because the Romanian negotiations were stalling. But Queen Marie managed to hold the Romanian negotiations up. Her charm really did astound the crowd, and Clemenceau was really inspired by her. "I don't like you, your Prime Minister, but I do like you," he said. And then Romania doubled in size overnight. And can you imagine it? Romanians thinking 1900. Live with a skates great. Transylvania will never be part of Romania. And 20 years later, 12 million people. Romania did slightly inherit the problems of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, because you had many Russians in Romania, you had many Hungarians within the Romanian territory, many Germans within the Romanian territory, many Bulgarians and Tartars in Romanian territory. So Romania did have some of the problems of Austro-Hungary and Yugoslavia, but not as much as Yugoslavia and Austro-Hungary. The Great Union would remain intact until the Second World War, but only Bessarabia and some of Georgia, which wasn't really remaining at all, and it contained the majority of Bulgarians. Even in 1940, the Romanian population only made 20% of the territory, so it wasn't really a great loss. Some of Georgia was not really of much economic importance, unlike Transylvania, which contained all the skill and raw materials, rich gold reserves, etc. And overall, analysis is location really did play against Romania, but how Romania attacked Bulgaria first, and had the government spent hugely on military preparation, the war could have turned out better for Romania. As it was, Romania turned out victorious and back the right side. The Romanian navy did gain the Austrian boats, ships. Romania, by 1920, Romania had the largest riverine fleet in the world. And the Romanian army really did grow in stature. And the Romanian nation was really in one. King Ferdinand and Queen Marie were crowned King and Queen of Greater Romania in October 1922. To this day, their descendants, Her Majesty Queen Margarita, rules Romania officially. To this day, the Romanians still do not forget the sacrifice of those hundreds of thousands of soldiers who laid down their lives. We should be thankful to all the soldiers who laid down their lives for the union of Romania. Nicolașca Romana, Mare. In the Romana, Nicolașca Regina.